Hello everybody and welcome to Wesley's Plant World with me, Wesley Peterson. And today I have a video where I am going to be reorganizing my Monstera deliciosa variety Borsigiana that I have next to me here, this beautiful big bundle of a plant. I'm going to be transferring it from its soil that it's in its nursery pot to hydroponics, more specifically passive hydroponics. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, to start with, I need to have myself a container. I have been out and bought myself this see-through plastic bucket. This is a 5-litre bucket, and I am going to be putting the vines of this plant into this bucket full of water that holds a nutrient mix. And it's a passive hydroponic system because these vines will be in the water nutrient mix without anything pumping around the water or anything in there to create oxygen bubbles around the plant. It will just be resting in this mix until it has grown out roots. And of course, to do that, I'm going to have to change out the water every couple of days to be able to reintroduce more oxygen into the mix, because it's very important that the roots, as they grow out as water roots, get the oxygen they need as well as being in the water. But when it stands still, the oxygen is quickly used up by the roots and the plant, and then it will not have enough to sustain it very healthily. So I've been out and bought this bucket, and I want to show you this to start with. So there you go, there's my bucket, and it also tells you that there's 5 litres in it. And this is absolutely perfect for me, this bucket, because then I can see what's happening with the roots as they grow out. So why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because I want to use the extra long form of transplanting my plant from soil to semi-hydroponics much later on after a couple of weeks. But to get there, I want to do a few things first. And the first thing is, I don't want to go in and clean off all of the roots from the soil, make sure there's no organic material left on them as much as possible so that they're clear and clean to be able to be put into semi-hydroponics. I want to make this easy for myself. So what I am going to do is, I'm going to go in and prune off these vines where they have an aerial root, and then I'm going to put those vines in the nutrient mix with no soil, no organic material around them whatsoever. I won't have to go in and fuss about with them at all. I'm going to start them off right from the beginning. These plants are growing out fabulous for me. They've got lots of lovely leaves. Each vine is growing out a new leaf. So I'm just going to do this. And then the main mother plant root balls that are still in the pot, I'm going to keep, and I'm going to let them flush out new vines. So I'm just going to get on with this. So the first thing I need to do is I need to fill up my bucket here with 5 litres of water, and then I need to go and measure the amount of nutrient mix I need to add into this, as well as make sure my pH level is correct. Now, this is a plant that likes a pH between 5 and 7. It does like to be a little bit more on the acidic side, so I'm going to try and get the range of my pH between 5 and 6, and we'll see how I go with that. And then I know that I can put all the vines straight into the mixture, put it in my grow tent under a white spectrum LED grow light, and within 2 weeks, I'm expecting I should have enough water roots to be able to move on to the next phase, which will be me transferring the new cuttings into semi-hydroponics. So let me get on with this stage here first, and the first thing I'm going to do is go and fill up my bucket with water. So I'm back with my bucket, and I was going to fill this bucket up with you to show you the water and my vines in this bucket, but this bucket has sprung a leak. There's a hole right in the center, a tiny hole, and it's dripping out. So I can't show you now this as I wanted to show you, but I still can in some way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plant that's still in its plastic nursery pot out of its cachet pot, and I will be able to fill this up with a nutrient mix and stand it in the cachet pot, which is going to be standing in when it's completed in semi-hydro later on anyway. And I will be able to fill up this bucket and fill up inside of this cachet pot so that I keep the nutrient mix around the roots, and that will still work absolutely fine. So let me get this plant out of this cachet pot so that I can get this configured first. Why do things not go the way you want sometimes? Well, that's the way you have to expect it to be sometimes with plants. So this is my pot, and now you can actually see the grey plastic pot it's in. It's not very big, and if I show you that actually compared to my new pot, you can see it's around the same width and it's a little slightly bit deeper, so it's going to be perfect for putting my cuttings in anyway. So I think the easiest way around for me to do this now so that I have space is that I'm actually going to go in and prune off my vines first so I can see how many I have and see what that looks like compared to the motherboard that's going to be staying in the pot. So I have myself a pair of secateurs here that I have cleaned and sterilized, and I can get in and find out where I have vines here with a good aerial root. So for example, I have this one here, and I'm going to do this so that they have plenty of vine underneath the aerial root. So this was my first one, and if I just show you this a bit closer, look at this beautiful leaf here with all of the lobes. Look at the more immature heart-shaped leaf here, absolutely beautiful. And then look down the bottom here at the lovely leaf that's about to unfurl. So I hope that's going to be able to carry on unfurling. And the important part, the aerial root that's growing down here. And I have a new growth point coming out of that leaf, of course, so there's no problem with that. And I have around an inch of extra vine underneath. Should this plant start rotting out or anything like that, we'll still have space to cut back a little bit. So this is the first one that will be ready to go into its bucket. So I can basically get my bucket now and just place them in because that's where they're going to be going. Let's get on with the rest. So I have another big piece here, and I'm going to again do this one and leave a leaf. So this one I didn't leave much space underneath the aerial root. I couldn't get to it like that. So I hope it's going to take off and be okay. And you can see this one has more mature leaves with more lobes in them. This one has been squashed in amongst other leaves, so it hasn't been able to fold out completely, so it looks like that. This was a whole new leaf that came out, look at that. Absolutely beautiful, and it got damaged here again because of no space to unfurl properly, but it's still a beautiful leaf and a beautiful bundle. And again, the important part, the aerial root where its new water roots will start growing out. Another beautiful bundle ready to go into my bucket here. So there we go, 2 of them. I'm only going to take the ones where I can see that I have a clear and easy aerial root growing so that I can continue that plant. So this one here has an aerial root right up here. I think I'll take that. Yes, this one. 2 lovely leaves. Look at those. Lovely leaves. Lovely long petioles on this one. And a little air root there and a growth point there. So it's absolutely perfect. 1 more to go in with all of my other cuttings. This is starting to look bushy and nice now already, isn't it? This has already been cut back, this piece here, but I'm going to try and cut it back further down anyway, because I'm sure the rest of it will be able to bounce back. There's another growth point actually growing out below, so I'm going to go in and take this out. There, I've got it. And I do want to go and wash these plants around the bottom part here to make sure that any loose bits of organic material are taken off, because that is really important that that doesn't get into the mix too much. But this, I just want to show this one. This was another one that has a very big mature leaf. Look at that. That's a lovely mature leaf. Lots of lobes in that. This is a whole brand new leaf that's come out here. You can see it's lighter in colour than the mature leaf and is still a little bit soft. And then we have a very immature leaf down here that's a little bit hacked with quite an interesting shape. And then I have a growth point here, so this is going to carry on growing out fine. Lovely, look at the immature and the mature leaf together there. So beautiful. So those can be added to my whole bundle I have down here now. And this is getting quite filled up in here, but I can find space for everyone. Look at that. It's looking amazing already. Let's see how many more I can get off the mother plant. This one has the aerial roots, so it will grow out roots, but at the same time, so I was worried that this one might not be able to make it. It's an immature leaf, there you go, but that leaf is absolutely beautiful. Aerial root, and it has a growth point. Where was it? I saw it, it's at the back here. So there you go, if you look there, you can see the little bump on the top side. That is where the new leaf will come out. So this is perfect as well. So now to put this one in with the rest of them too. Find space. There's going to be a lot of plants here. This is going to be fantastic. Let's see what else I can get out of the mother plant now. No, I can't see any more that I'm able to get out of this plant. So what I'll do with this plant later on is I will just clean up the organic debris that's growing up and down on the petioles and the old air roots that are sticking out of the soil now. And then I'll leave this plant as it is. Because now I've already created myself a huge plant that's going to be in semi-hydroponics later. So right, before I get on with putting the nutrient mix in with my cuttings now, I just want to bring my mother plant closer to you so that you can see the growth points that will flush out again very quickly on this plant to see how it's going to carry on. It still has plenty of lovely leaves on it, as you can see. So there's this beautiful plant with the rest of its lovely leaves. And you can see underneath here, that is a whole new growth point coming out. And there'll be plenty coming out on the rest of the bottom of this. And well, this plant still looks fantastic. It has plenty of leaves, lots going on, and it will bounce back and fill out in no time, I'm sure. So this will carry on fine as a soil plant. So now we need to get on with this bundle of joy I have going on here. I couldn't be more pleased with this. This is going to be still, standing still, and I'm going to have to change out the nutrient mix every couple of days or so when I feel like I need to do it to replenish the oxygen in the mix, because that will be used up very quickly. As I said earlier, this bucket is fantastic because it shows me the litre marks. So you can see all the roots are going to be growing down here right at the bottom. I'm going to fill this up to 3 litres because it's going to be in the cachet pot, and the nutrient mix is going to sink down because, as I said, there's a hole in the bottom. So it will probably sink down to 1.5, 2. And that would be the perfect height for my nutrient mix in the cachet pot. So this is what I'm going to do. So I need to work out how much nutrient mix I need to fill up for 3 litres. I have such a bundle going on here. So the first thing I need to do is get myself a new cachet pot, because otherwise I will have water going everywhere. So cachet pot and my plastic pot inside, and all of my leaves where they're going to be for now. So now what I need is to get my pH down and my nutrient mix so that I can get my pH perfectly right for this plant. So there are a few different things I need to measure out my nutrients to make my mix. I need a cylinder to be able to take a sample of my mixed product, and I need a syringe. This is a 5 milliliter syringe, so I can see exactly how many I need. And then I'm going to need my pH test kit. This I'll be using to check that I get the pH to the level I need. And you just put 2 drops of this in the cylinder with your mix and then shake it. And then the color that matches to the side of this little bottle will show you the amount of your pH. So I'll just show you that a little bit closer on this bottle here. So this is what I'm using. a pH test kit, and on the side it shows the pH measurements. Between 5 and 6.5 is what most plants like to be able to take up the nutrients that they need. So we're going to get closer to the bottom of that, so that will be more of a darker yellow color that I'm looking for in the solution. So now I have my nutrient mix and I have my pH down. I need pH down because the tap water here in Malmö, Sweden is pH 8, which is very alkaline. So I need to bring the amount of pH down. And that's why I have this. I don't have a pH up, which you can also get yourself, because if you get your pH to acidic, then you need to bring it up again. But I'm very careful at putting in a few drops of my pH down in at a time to make sure that I don't go too acidic, because then I don't have anything to bring it up again. But I've done this before where I have made it too acidic and I've just taken half the amount of my 10-litre container out and then filled up with water again, put in the nutrients that I need to balance it out again, tested, and then I can see if I need to add more pH down or not. So I'll just show you these a little bit closer so you know what I'm using. So here we are, these are the products that I'm using. There are many different products on the market that you can go out there and find yourself. So right, as I said, I want to put 3 litres of water in here. So water first, and fill this up to the 3 litre mark. So I think I'm there, I just need to check. And this bucket is dripping away. Slight little bit more I need to put in. Have a little look. So now I have 3 litres, which is perfect. So now I'm just going to shake my nutrient mix a little bit more. Make sure it's really well shaken. So now I have exactly 1.5 millimeters of this nutrient mix that I can squirt in, and then I get myself my spoon and mix this up. Just mix around in the nutrient mix just to make sure that that nutrients is level around in everything. And I am going to now take a pH test of the mix now before I put any pH down in there, just to check. And also to be able to show you what the pH looks like with my nutrient mix and the tap water that I have here in Malmö, Sweden, before I do anything else. So I get my little squeezy here and I have my cylinder, as I said before. I'll take a sample of the mix, fill up my cylinder 2/3 of the way, then get my pH test kit. As I said before, 2 drops only. 2. Close that, put the lid on, and before I shake it, I want to come close to the camera so you can see. So there's my cylinder before I shake it. Now I'm going to shake it, and if you look here, it's a bit difficult to see, I know. The pH I have right now is between 7 and 8, so that's too high. So now I'm going to put a little bit of pH down in to get us down closer to that orange color. And before I do this part, I'm just going to take all of my cuttings out, which I should have done in the beginning. I've complicated this for myself more than I needed to, and that was because I got a hole in the bucket and, well, space and so forth. So I'll lay these on the floor for a minute until we've made sure that I get my pH. No, I don't want to lay them on the floor. So I just got myself a container to put my cuttings in for a minute. Now, when it comes to this pH down, you need a very small amount, and especially as this is a very small amount of mix I have here now. I know you feel like you need to have your lab coat on, but sometimes you do. So here, 2 drops now. I can see it's still very alkaline, this mix, so I can go a lot further than that. Let's just have a little look. No, it's basically near enough the same. So a little bit more of this. But remember, I don't have any pH up, so I don't want to suddenly overdo it. So now I can test my mixture again. And you just have to keep going until you get it right. pH test kit again. So we're getting lighter green, but it still needs a lot more. So now I've mixed it, test it, and I hope this is going to be the last time that I need to test this. So now I've reached the safe zone of most plants. This is pH 6.5, which is the highest level of the alkaline level that most plants will accept. And I just want to show you that before I put a little bit more of the pH down in it to make this a slight bit more acidic for these Monsteras. So there we go, if you can see that, that is pH 6.5. So I need to get a little bit lower now. So now I think I'm ready with measuring out the pH down. So let's see what it looks like. So if we look at the test kit here, you can see my pH now is closer to a yellow, which means I have a pH between 6 and 6.5. And that is absolutely fine for these Monstera cuttings. So now that I know my pH is fine for my plants, I can put them in their nutrient mix and I will be done with this for now. So I'll just gather them all up again and put them back in the nutrient mix, let them lay down, and that is them done. And if I lift it up, you can see all my roots in there. And this is now ready to go into my grow tent so that these plants can grow out lovely water roots within 2 or 3 weeks, I'm hoping. And then my mother plant still in the soil, looking fabulous. And look here, I have a whole jungle of Monstera deliciosa variety Borsigiana just by taking a few propagations. So now my plant is in hydroponics. And that is exactly what I wanted for this next phase towards semi-hydroponics. And this is also known as passive hydroponics. As I said before, there's nothing going to be helping these plants with the oxygen supply that they need. So I will need to change this out quite regularly. So that is me done for this video. Make sure you check out the next video that will be coming up, where we'll have a look at the roots that have grown out a few weeks later and me transferring these plants into semi-hydroponics. And we'll talk about that phase when we get there. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up. And I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.